Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's presentation, which I'm pretty excited to be talking about with you today. We're going to be discussing crafting the Philosopher's Stone. So, like I like to do, it's before we jump into it, deconstructing some words so we basically we can all get on the same page. Okay? So to craft, let's just look at these words here. Craft. That's to construct. We're building something, right? And a philosophy is what? A philosophy. A philosophy is a perspective of the world and yourself. And the stone, now is it a just a rock? Okay. Oops. This would be like like with builders, it's about polishing that stone until you make it into something permanent, right? We're basically crafting, we're crafting a stone, which I would call it more like a crystal. Okay. Let's say, so if we really look at this, we're crafting a philosophy or perspective or crystal, which is the Philosopher's Stone. And what is the Philosopher's Stone connected to? It's connected to, if we were to, let's see, look at what all this is really trying to say, it's a perspective. It's creating a self perspective that stands time. Creating a self perspective that stands time, which is, at the end of the day, the eternal avatar. And unbreakable mind. This is the aim of this presentation. What we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about constructing an avatar, which is a program. Okay, we're doing character development. This is all about character development. And what I would say is that the eternal avatar was created. It is the first created thing. This would be like the eternal kingdom. When they talk about the kingdom inside of you, the eternal kingdom, this eternal philosopher's stone, it's buried within you. But we have to go on a journey to find this. So imagine the eternal avatar. Imagine this eternal kingdom, it resonates outward. And depending on where you're at in your journey in life, in your perspective, or the angle that you're at from this point we're trying to get, it's like trying to get to the treasure. It's basically, it's learning perspectives that allow us to see and experience a certain reality. Okay? This would, a lot of people call this the true great work. It's basically where, again, we redevelop our minds, because again, what is it? The person, your person, I've been saying this over and over again, is a prism. Right? This goes back to the stone. It is a prism, which it becomes your person. You know what? It's also funny. My last name means stone. And it's interesting, on my family coat of arms, he's wearing a crown, and he's got a little peacock coming out. Okay? And that peacock, interesting enough, the peacock, in a way, it represents eternity, the eternal mind. So one way I can look at my existence in life, just through my own name, because my middle name means eternal ruler. Or king. And again, this is all about, I've come to the realization, this is my mission in life. It's to craft this stone, which is myself, right? Because you are that thing. Okay? It's not just discovering and absorbing information. Okay? It's not enough just to take in information. We have to embody this wisdom through experience. Okay? This is faith. This is your faith in action. Okay? To prove to yourself, why don't you put our faith in action? What is faith? It's basically the belief in what's not seen yet. Not seen, but basically you overcome the obstacles in your path to turn that faith into knowing, or gnosis. No, now this process isn't you reading books and regurgitating information. This is you setting your mind to something, putting in the work, aiming in that direction, moving towards that direction, and facing the obstacles in your way, so you can begin to learn what you need to learn, to embody that information, to learn how to recraft yourself into something new. Like back up to here, and depending on, imagine the stars where you come from, you are that immortal avatar. You already carry that philosopher's stone. It's just, what direction are you facing, right? So if you're over here and your mind's facing this way, and basically you set your mind. So it's basically you set your mind to craft this stone. And you need to basically aim. This is basically aim your mind and basically having full faith, you will be successful. Okay. And so your mind, your energy say is going this way, but as you begin to turn and go in this new direction to craft this philosopher's stone here, and as you begin to change your trajectory of your mind and your life, that resistance you face, that angle at which you are, the new angles that you must this is all about learning the angles of perspective through life experience that gives you the wisdom. So as you move from one degree to the next degree to the next degree to the next degree, this begins to change your prism or your person or your perspective, where you can begin to craft and realize this eternal kingdom within you, so it becomes manifest in the world around you. Okay? All right. So we basically did a little breakdown about what the Philosopher's Stone is. It's crafting a certain perspective. It's about folding. Another way to look at this, it's learning how to fold yourself, fold or compress yourself. Press yourself. Again, it's equivalent to, again, folding and compressing yourself. It's your mind's ability to fold in, collapse in, and express out equidistantly from itself. And it creates, this creates a certain algorithm of the mind. It is a form of intelligence. We could even say it's the intelligence of what most would consider God. Because we are trying to be made in this image. Imagine whatever you think God is, imagine God is that eternal, immortal being that indefinitely exists. We're basically trying to shape and mold ourselves into this image. Which again, it's programming. We're reprogramming ourselves. Okay? Now, I want to come up here. You may have seen this drawing from another video that I did about, I just have the picture of the avatar with the spectrum here. We have the different chakras and everything. So like, up here would be, this would be like that, this would be the Godhead. And then down here, oops. So the head here, so we go from these top three chakras. This would be like heaven. And down here would be like hell. And then these two meeting in the center here. This would be the earth where we live. This is the simulation and where we live. And this here would just be, the Godhead. And this would be, you can call it Satan's head. Right, hell. This would be heaven. This would be the positive and negative charge, okay? In ourselves. We are made up of these different programs that is the prism of our person. Okay? And what I'm going to show is how the different geometry, we are this geometry in a sense, folding through itself. So imagine a consciousness. So we have the white and the black here. This would be your unconsciousness wanting to collapse through itself. It does, it creates like a wave. Imagine this would be Imagine, let's see if I can draw this. So imagine your consciousness would be like these two energies pushing up against itself. They're resisting itself. Okay? And this pressure against itself, it creates a field. Okay? It creates this field here. Because the two parts of yourself collapsing into yourself. So it would be like, in our brains, this would be our two eyes and our third eye, and the signaling from our body, and as the energy moves through our body and through our mind, and about how we perceive ourselves in the world, it does it. This is all programming and how we're currently developed and programmed, and the goal is to reprogram ourselves. Because we're experiencing reality one way and the earth is experienced one way. Again, going back to this little drawing I did, we're experiencing reality one way, and our perception of reality is, so let me do another little thing. So here you are, imagine this is you, and your life is like ripples. It's like there's like, imagine your reality around you, the program and how you perceive yourself, it goes out again. It's like this goes back to squaring of the circle, and how you perceive yourself, about, again, your consciousness collapsing into you, and how you perceive it. It does this as like a program. And a lot of people talk about like jumping timelines and things like that. Again, as we begin to shift the programming of our person, our experience of the world and ourselves begins to change. And again, the past and the future, it reflects us. So here's you, and us existing. It creates like ripples in time. So we experience reality, and then as we look for things, depending on our histories and stuff like that, it mirrors back to us, and then so does the future. Because technically, if you really think about it, the past and the future are also the same thing. Okay, I'm not trying to get too much in time travel and things like that, where this is everything to do with perspective. The past and the future are also the same. They are just mirrors. The past and the future are just mirrors. Okay? And we're trying to basically aim and orient our mind in a way that has the past and the future mirroring. We want it to mirror. We want our minds and the programming of ourselves to mirror a certain perspective. Okay? Many would call this the kingdom of heaven. And this is where we want to go. We want to go to the eternal realm. Because again, like I've talked about in other videos, the world realm is a reflection of the avatar. So, in a sense, crafting the Philosopher's Stone is really, it's also finding the fragments. Because again, what is the parable about? The world is a field. World is a field. Filled with treasure. What does it say? It's like the glory of kings to search it. I might be saying that wrong. Okay, In the field, it's not just like a field in the ground. Like there's going to be like some box of treasure under the ground, right, with some chest, and you gotta, here you are with your shovel, and you're going to go out here and try to dig out treasure, and hopefully you can find this treasure here. It's more like, too, one way we can look at this too, because a field, what is a field? Like the electromagnetic fields. Okay. And let's put you here again. We're in this world, and around, we have electromagnetic field around us. And what we're doing is, as we go on our journey through life, and we have experiences, and again, the programming of ourselves, and us going through life, and our perception, our experiences based off our perception. I'll say self-perspective. Again, this alters how we experience the world and ourselves. And when we want to change this, so by crafting the Philosopher's Stone, we're basically trying to redevelop ourselves. And as we set our mind to that new selves, and we begin to express that new version of ourselves into the world, we get new feedback. It's, again, because reality is a feedback loop. Okay? Reality is a feedback loop. And a lot of the lesson in crafting this Philosopher's Stone is, again, learning the courage and the traits. It's learning the traits. Traits to exert your eternal self. Eternal self, which will alchemize reality. Into something new or something different. Again, it's almost like it's like changing the lens on a camera, to where, imagine there's this, we experience reality one way. So again, like, we see reality one way. Imagine like the sun's here, and then you got like a little tree. Okay, it's trees, and maybe there's some mountains back here. Maybe there's like a little stream here. So imagine you're looking at reality through a lens. But as we go through journey in our life, and we're trying to create this totally different perspective of reality, it's the mutation from this other state, and it begins to move over into this other dimension of existence and experience, where maybe it's a whole kingdom. You got, maybe there's like a castle, or we're basically shifting. It's basically shifting realities. Okay, but to shift reality, our experience of reality, we again have to shift our perspective. And there's a lot of the difficulty in this current world now is there is a lot of dense energy to push through. A lot of dense energy to push through to basically ourselves, because again, we are at a certain plot or perspective. So again, as we cycle through ourselves, we keep getting plotted. Okay, so imagine we want to get to the center, But as we cycle through ourselves, we keep getting plotted. So maybe we're plotted. So maybe our existence is plotted somewhere over here. So maybe you're over here, right? And as you aim to merge yourself back to this other place, and as you get closer and closer to this other place, the coding of this place you want to be, so this coding versus the coding where you're at now, this is where you're going to get it's going to be tension. It's going to create a certain type of resistance. And that friction between the fields of where you're at and where you're trying to go, it generates, many would say, obstacles or life lessons, or lessons you need to master, or you need to learn to progress. Okay? And I've experienced this in my life, as I've been on this journey for a long time, and by me pulling my conscious and my mind in this direction, I've had to I have to go through some very, very severe challenges in life. I've had to lose many things. I've had to lose most of my friends. It's learning to conquer the things that's hindering you from getting to this new place. And again, as you begin to transform into something different, it's learning to also detach from this other coding or programming or perspective before. So again, you'll see this as again, this is continuous. Okay. Now imagine, again, this could be multiple layers of doing this. Okay. So you get to this place, and now you're going to this place as you progress. And then you got more coding that needs to be mastered. Okay. And there's more interference patterns. It's just, again, this is how we move through dimensions and time with our mind. And our perception of time and reality will shift with these things. Okay. To get to where we're trying to go. Now, in a sense, this truly is, the never-ending story. Because growth and change never stop. And it's learning that kind of mindset. It's learning to see life as a series of lessons. Okay. So the crafting of the stone, it's never truly all the way complete, because you can't you may think something's perfect now, or it's perfection of what it gets, what it's like, but once you get to that new stage of development, you realize, oh, there's so much more to learn, there's so much more to do. Okay. You realize it's a never-ending thing. Now, the geometries and things, again, it's learning to where you can keep yourself on that path of change. And we go through periods of progressing towards that goal, and maybe we retract, and we fall off the path a little bit, and we lose a little bit of ground. But this is why, again, we see all these types of parables and stories about, no matter how much you get knocked down, you always got to get back up. It's again learning to be unbreakable. To be unbreakable. Even through death. Even through death and our fears. Okay? It's never giving up, never wanting to ever give up. Okay? Now, back to the person, and I talk about how reality, a consciousness, is the positive and negative aspects of itself. It's the two opposites of itself, collapsing into a center. So it's, imagine reality is collapsing into and through you. Okay? And the resistance between this collapse is what creates a prism, which creates a person. Okay? So again, we need a prism here for these things to reflect against. It reflects against it. Okay? And let me delete some of this. We can continue on discussing. So again, we need to put, because again, if you just kept collapsing, again, this would be like following down. It's just like following the white rabbit down the hole, and you would just keep indefinitely falling. It'd basically be like this. Okay? Imagine it swirls. You would basically just keep doing this indefinitely. You would just keep falling through yourself indefinitely. If basically there was nothing in the middle, there was no prism in between. Okay? And that's really what the earth is. I'm telling you, the earth is a prism. It is a stone in which we live. Okay? And again, that journey, so when we aim our minds to craft that philosopher's stone, again, we're trying to change the prism of our person, and that resistance we face on trying to step into that new person is trying to teach us certain things. It's certain character traits that allow us to stand the test of time. Okay? This is what a lot of the stuff in the Bible is talking about. Now, there's a lot of traps and snares in the Bible. Okay? I'll make a video talking about that, where it will get you, it will hinder your ability to not create this perspective. Okay? Like, again, like taking a blood sacrifice, thinking that gives you eternal life, that is not it, because that is you basically not wanting to go through true change and transformation by doing and going through the process. Okay? But again, imagine you collapsing through yourself through a prism. Okay? This collapsing pressure of itself, again, this is what creates the spectrum of you. Okay? This is where we get the rainbow. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Then we got, good old Roy G. Biv. Okay? Which is a person. Okay? This is just a very fundamental part. This could be like the positive and negative parts of yourself. Again, the caduceus, this is the two energies that go through and in yourself. Again, it's like the positive and the negative too. It's about learning how to spin and collapse in and through yourself. Okay? It's folding. It's a geometry. Okay? And here I'll go through and show some geometries. I've already drawn them. Oops. I've already drawn them. Do this right here. Here, I'll show you. Let's see. This will give you an idea of some of the geometries that I've shown. Again, this would be like the Great Pyramid. This is also showing the Vesica Pisces, the birth. See, inside the Vesica Pisces would be again, you get birth through a prism. You get birth through a prism as a person in a world that is also a reflection of you. Okay? We also have the squaring of the circle. This would be like the construction of like the temple. Okay? And then here we also have, again, the portal. Again, that's where I talked about this before also with the XX. With the Vesica Pisces, again, this is another way of showing that. Okay? And again, the star. This would be the right side up star, the avatar. Notice within the star, it contains the whole body. Okay? and it contains all the chakras of yourself. And then we have the upside down pentagram, where if you notice, again, the head is in the root, it's in the groin, and it basically X's out through the heart or through the throat, through the third eye and the crown. Okay? This is a mind, this is basically your mind focused on the carnal world, the material plane in and of itself. This is, again, this is what traps you in a linear perspective of yourself. Okay? And when you're in a linear perspective of yourself, it's hard for you to even, again, it's hard for you to access the higher parts of the mind, to push your mind and your identity beyond linear time. So you can, because you have to get to that point if you want to craft the Philosopher's Stone, okay? Because it's basically requiring you to radically shift the way in how you perceive yourself, which again pushes your mind beyond the body into a frequency, and how you are that mind collapsing and reflecting against itself. And as you begin to shift and change the programming of how you perceive yourself, this is how you begin to manipulate and change matter. This is what people would talk about, having a fifth dimensional conscious, where your mind and the idea of yourself starts to transcend just where it's at now. And this what again allows you to start to move your consciousness and how your experience of reality in a totally different direction. Okay. Hopefully that is making sense. And I made some so I share these over here too. Okay. I drew them all over here so you can see them. You also get the Star of David, okay, over on the avatar. Again, a lot of these geometries, again, it shows our person and how, again, we are geometry. We are a geometry, and that geometry is a prism, which again, it's how energy or a conscious reflects against itself. Whereas, again, we have the avatar. This would be more of this would be the, this is upright. This is this is basically you overcoming. We want to be the activated star. Okay, this is basically what we're trying to get to, the eternal state. Okay, and the Star of David. Okay, I drew another representation of this. So if you look, it's a person folded over. So this would be like the back here. This would be the legs. This is the head. Okay. This is the arms, and then this is the feet. And they're just basically folded up into this pattern. If you notice at the center here is the head, right? What's in the head? That's where God lives, okay? God lives in the head, okay? And if we were to flip this to the other side, again, have you seen that picture of Solomon where he's looking into the water and it's reflecting back? So again, another way we could look at this, if we were to mirror this, it would be the face looking at us. Again, it's self-reflection. Okay? This would be another way of saying this, God reflecting against itself. Oops. Which creates a program, okay? Story, script, code, prism. A lot of these things, we can use these terms pretty interchangeably, okay? Because again, it is a vibration. Again, this would be the positive and negative collapsing into itself through a prism of perspective that generates the holographic reality, okay? And then the upside down would be the Baphomet. Baphomet, okay? So again, this would be like God and the devil, okay? devil. And this is basically, this is a perspective, this is basically living in a perspective that doesn't change. Okay? That's why it's a devil. What is devil backwards? Devil is lived. Because if you stay in this mentality, you keep cycling through the same perspective or program over and over and over again. Okay, you're a devil. You are somebody who's not wanting to face God. Okay, so you can overcome the programming and then rise like the star. So you can, again, this is also the heart. Okay, this would be the heart. Again, this would be the programming playing out, the projection. Okay, this would be like the heavens above, and then this would be the water. This would be what's below, and then together it creates an electromagnetic field. Okay, and this symbology is all found in our person. Okay, and again, this would be the temple, like the Great Pyramid. Okay, of Atum, which contains the coding of our person. Okay, and this would be the portal. This is basically, you just keep birthing. This is what you'll just keep birthing through. Okay, you'll just keep getting birthed in and out, in and out, in and out, indefinitely, playing out a program. And again, as you play out that program, you just keep getting plotted at different points, different points, different points, different points. Because technically, you are living out multiple lifetimes right now. They're overlapped. It's not the past and the future and all these things aren't there. Everything's here and right now. We're just at varying degrees of perspective of how we see reality and ourselves. And this is why, again, crafting Philosopher's Stone is all about learning to push past the programming of our previous self, which is the devil. Okay, because that's where we are. So if you really think about where we are, you know, we we are living in the prism or perspective of our previous self. Oops. Okay, our previous self, which is the devil. Okay, which is a certain ego. What is an ego? An ego is also an egg. Okay, have you seen the symbolism with the egg? And it's got the serpent going around it. Okay, you got the little serpent. Okay, he's around the egg. Like snakes, they like to eat eggs, right? So that serpent, so that's, here's you. You'd be living inside the egg, and the serpent is reflective of your ego that wants to keep eating you. So it wants to keep you in a certain perspective. Okay, and a lot of times this is how the ego, the devil, plays tricks. Plays tricks to keep you afraid. Okay, it wants to keep you locked in a certain mindset, right? This again, this would be here. This would be the root. It wants to keep you locked in the lower chakras. Okay, it wants to keep your heart blocked because it doesn't want you to ascend. Because to again, part of creating the Philosopher's Stone is you have to defeat the devil. which is you, okay? Which is your old self. Do they say, they say in the Bible that Satan is the god of this world? Okay. Satan. What is Satan? Satan is the adversary. Adversary, accuser. Okay. This is the part of your psyche trying to accuse you and tempt you and keep you from going on the journey and overcoming yourself and defeating it. Okay. So again, this is in all religions. So religions, all the gods and all the religions are adversaries, are Satan's. They are the gods. These are all the gods, okay? What most people worship as God, most people worship as God is the devil. Okay? This also includes old Jesus, okay? Yahweh. Okay? Jesus actually feeds Yahweh, okay? Yahweh would be like the devil, or what most people call God. And by taking the blood sacrifice of Jesus, again, this is all about what you get washed in Jesus' blood, and then you keep getting cycled through a certain perspective, which is Yahweh, which is the coding of the prism. Okay. Okay, this could be El, whatever. It could be Chronos, whatever, however you want to see it. All these are old perspectives of ourselves. Okay. So again, going back to the Star of David, again, we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. A lot of people talk about this is, the mark of the beast. Okay. Let's go over here. 6, 6, 6. Mark of the beast. That is man. Okay. Which is Adam. Okay. It's Jesus. Okay. Is a program. Again, the coding of the flesh would be like Yahweh. Okay. And it feeds you through what? It feeds you through a story or script, keeping you from keeping you from overcoming your errors. Okay, this is where we get the man in the box. Man in the box. Okay. Which again is that 666, which is the coding. This is why you have to resist. You have to resist the coding in the box. You have to resist that God. Okay. Just like, Jacob wrestled with God. And got a new name. Okay? And his name became Israel. Okay? Israel was, again, this represents wrestling with God. Okay? No one's wrestling with God anymore. Okay? You're being submissive. When you submit to the code in the box, okay, when you worship that God, you conform to that programming. So if you don't, you're just going to keep getting cycled through that program. Okay. And let me tell you what happens if you never resist the programming in the box. That program, again, eventually it becomes machines, okay? It becomes cannibalistic. This is I'm doing another video where I'm gonna break down the man in the box and the test of the cross, and how that keeps you in it, looping you through an artificial timeline that keeps you from self-actualizing and keeping you from, again, crafting the philosopher's stone. Okay, but again, like the 666. Okay, it's compressing carbon. Okay, you're a carbon-based form. We need to compress this. We need to fold this back into the center. Okay, it's like origami. Okay, it's it's learning to fold our conscious in ourselves. Okay, it's like we're just folding ourselves. Okay, we're folding ourselves. It's learning to fold ourselves into certain ways, which again creates a certain prism. Okay, it creates a certain type of perspective or prism in how we deal with ourselves. And we know we're accomplishing this type of intelligence that allows us to defeat the devil, our old selves, our old ego, because we begin to transform. We no longer begin to identify and align with these old things. They begin to fall away and die. We start to shed our skin, right? So as you overcome old versions of yourself, you shed your skin. Okay, you shed your skin. And the ultimate goal is to shed. We want to shed the Adam's or the serpent skin, the carnal, for the luminous light skin. Okay, this is basically becoming a shining dragon atom. It's like bioplasma. It's overcoming the programming of ourselves, and this is a transmutation. This is a process of transmutation. Okay, this is the inner alchemy of the soul. Okay, and has everything to do with perspective, and to start this journey, you have to aim your mind there. You have to, again, if you want to hit the mark, where does it say sin is to miss the mark? Okay, to miss the mark, you have to put your mark in the right place. If you're gonna aim, you got your crosshairs right, and you're trying to hit your target. You first got to put the crosshairs on the target. Okay, you have to make yourself the target. Make yourself the target. Okay, you have to put it right between your eyes. Make yourself the target. Take accountability for yourself. Aim to be transformed. Have faith that knowing that even though you're not experiencing what it is you're aiming to accomplish, know that it will be possible, and know that whatever obstacles you face in your path, that you can and will overcome them. And to never give up. Even if you fall flat on your face and you feel 10,000 times, you get back up and you keep going. You have to be an overcomer. Okay? You can't quit. And trust me, I know this journey, it is not for the weak or faint of heart. Okay? I have been on this journey for a long time, and I have I have gone through so many intense moments in my life. You know, I've been to war. I've lost my family. I've lost my home. I've lost many things. But you know what I still have? I still have my faith. Faith and my treasure. That survives time. Okay? Because the things I've gained in this life, even though I've lost many physical things in this life, I've gained eternal things. To me, which is more priceless than any gold or any trinket or any title that this world could ever offer me. Okay? Because I have put myself through the crucible, I have put myself through the flames, I have pushed myself to be tested and tested myself. And I continue to do this and go through this process. I keep going through processes of collapsing my conscious, bring it back online. I've had it. I've had near-death experience. I've I've gone through so many interesting, wild things in this life, and I would not change it because I know that I am becoming something different. I'm becoming something new, and I'm excited about this. It's because I'm learning so much and I'm able to tap into streams of consciousness and information that it's you really can't tap into some of these things if you're living like the devil, if you're just all living and staying within and being what you are day in day out. Again, you have to learn to pattern break. Okay, so part of it is to pattern break. you know Changing your frequency is pattern break. Okay, breaking the cycle. And this allows you to build a new program. Okay, and at the end of the day, we're all spiraling to try to get. We're on this journey. All right, it's like carrying your cross through time, through different timelines, different lives. Okay, and we're trying to get closer to the center point, where we'll never truly get to the absolute center, but we may exist in a plane around the center. Okay, and we're all trying. Me personally, I'm trying to move my consciousness closer to the center point, to that light that you are, to that light. Okay. Instead of when people talk about when they die, again, I've said this before, that light at the end of the tunnel. The reason it's at the end of the tunnel, it seems so far away, is because that's showing you just how far out you have moved from it, how far you have projected yourself from yourself. And through life, it's better why and maybe you become more and more conscious in another life, or less conscious. You keep going up and down. It's like Jacob's ladder, right? Okay. It's also like it's like electrons in an atom. Okay. They have different orbits and they'll jump. And that difference in that, and when it jumps in orbit, it releases photons. Okay, light. So just like your conscious is jumping different states or experiences of itself, this creates the light that you are. Okay. Now, about that stone. Again, let's delete that. I think I was just doodling. And I think we're almost done, everybody. Okay. Oh, I have another way to visual. I'm trying to do my best to show and visualize this. Again, you are like that positive and negative, that light and dark. Okay, the negative and positive charge. This is why learning, if you don't learn to forgive, you say what really blocks the heart. The big thing that blocks the heart off, that blocks this, is not learning to forgive yourself and others. Because holding on to resentment and grudges and negative emotions and things, especially directed to others, it just keeps injuring your heart, and you'll keep repressing and repressing and repressing. And this will keep you in that devil. Okay, you'll basically turn darker and more corrupt, and just become more and more bitter, and you're just going to keep looping, you're just going to keep spiraling right into a black hole. Okay, same thing here. If you claim that you worship God and you're all about love and light, but again you don't learn to forgive other people, guess what? That still blocks your heart. You're splitting yourself, and you have to learn to merge. We have to merge our positive and negative aspects into a new prism. And the better we get at the better we can imagine it's like the positive and the negative, and as they flip poles, the better it can get at flipping between these poles. Again, it's like squaring the circle. Okay, the better we can get at folding our consciousness through and out of itself, completing, it's all about completing a circuit between life and death. Okay, this is why I like having a perspective of no one goes to hell, or the heaven and hell is not, you don't go to one or the other, because you're not just the person. You're that positive, that negative, and that neutral point. Okay, this would be like the Trinity. Okay, and it's learning to merge and bridge these things and to build a world in and of itself. There is no fragmentation of self. Okay, and this is the big issue. Again, I've talked about this. The programming or errors in this world is a blocked heart, the fragmented of the psyche, the positive and negative, the left and right. It's basically, it creates a blocked electromagnetic field that blocks the energetic flow, and it becomes cannibalistic, where it cannibalizes itself. It's basically a mind that cannibalizes itself because it doesn't know how to stabilize the perspective of itself. And it's basically has an overly negative charge to itself, which is not knowing how to process or deal with the negative emotions, which cannibalizes the heart. Okay, so a lot of the resistance you're going to face, especially in this timeline and this world, is resisting against the trauma and errors of this world. Okay, and it's doable. It's very doable. Okay, and again, you are the positive and negative going in and through itself, and it flips through again as those poles flip through each other. It's like a ripple. It's like a ripple. And that is a mind, and how the positive and the negative flow through itself. Again, it's like a serpent that goes in and out through a white and black hole through itself. But the resistance it faced through that process creates a world or a mind or a prism or a person, okay? And the goal, again, it's to make it to where we can resist this process, but to where it allows it to more easily circulate between itself. And the better we get at creating a mind that can circulate these things, our energies, our emotions, the easier it becomes for us to transform and change our lives and ultimately change the world. Okay? And before we go, I just have some cool little things I wanted to show you, okay? Where I took some of the geometries of this guy here and I overlapped them, and I basically just I basically duplicated them and merged them at certain points. So like this one, I merged him at the crown. Okay, I merged them at the crown here. I don't know if you notice this shape here. You'll see it on both of them with the stars. It's a certain type of cross. You see the cross? I don't know. It's like the Knights of. I don't know. It's like the Knights of Malta crosses these two types of chevrons. Okay, these geometries. A lot of people say that they're evil or they're bad. It's just geometry in itself isn't evil. Okay, it's just about how they're being represented and used. Okay, and I took the angles off and I just showed the person, and I want to show you something else here too. Okay, this would be the four faces of God. This is okay. Look, I'm gonna draw. This would be like the pyramid. Okay. We got here. Again, this is the four faces. This would be also the four corners of the earth. Okay. And inside, this would be like God looking down on you. Okay. This would be like the face of God looking down at you. And the crown. This is the pineal too. This would be like the capstone here. Okay. This is the programming of the mind. Okay. And then we do the inverse where I link them together at the root. You get the same star, but if you notice, see, at the mind it's open and at the root it's closed. So it's almost like it's like a spiraling, twisting action. Okay. This is, again, energy pumping through a system almost. I don't want to say pumping, but flowing through a system. Same thing here. And here you see they're basically connected at the groin. See, this would be the energy being pulled from the crown, from the head to the lower chakras. Okay, whereas this one, it's flowing from the top down, or it's basically pulling the lower ones up to the mind. So it's the opposite process. We don't want to be one or the other, again, because we want to be able to take the energy from our mind, right? The programming of God, or the perspective we're trying to build, and we want to pull it down to the ground, okay? And we eventually want to ground it and balance it where? In the heart. So if we balance it in the heart, right? See, this is where, again, I created it where it's balanced in the heart. We get this shape here, okay? This to me would represent the proper squaring of the circle, where it is the square. So you have the electromagnetic field, you have it balanced in the center of the heart, and this would basically be like the kingdom of heaven, okay? Kingdom of heaven on earth, which is basically, again, taking the Philosopher's Stone and using it to build our new selves and reality. Okay. Again, this is taking these, again, this is going from the transformation of the mind, aiming our mind towards that new developed perception or more powerful version of ourselves in our mind, going through the process of going on that journey, resisting our old selves, which is the devil, which is the god of the world, of this world, Satan, the accuser, the adversary, learning and becoming a character that can stand against that old version of ourselves, defeat it, take the energy of our old selves, begin to shed our old skin as we begin to use as that philosopher's stone, as we craft the proper perspectives and angles, creating a crystal, which is us compressing our carbon or our life form into that crystal, which again allows our consciousness to reverberate out, transmuting ourselves from lead into gold, or are shedding our carnal nature, our carnal selves, and stepping back into our immortal selves, going back and getting, this is again going back closer to the true God, the source, the light of all things. Okay. And I think that is going to be it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to y'all later.